Hello beauties, Shaz here with another to buy or not to buy. In these videos, I talk about new makeup that is released and I try to talk myself out of buying anything on camera. Hopefully in the process, I will inspire you to also say no to the makeup that's releasing. You probably already have a dupe for it in your collection. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and let's jump into it. Okay friends, coffee as always, and I duped y'all the palette you all requested. This is La Boheme from, or the dupe of La Boheme from Nomad, and this is what I'm going to use to do my look today. I already primed my eyes with Painterly from MAC. Let's jump into this. We have another thing from Ladybug Glow. I had talked about this, not this one. I talked about the other one, Grunge something, in my last video, which was a lot more grungy. This is another palette from them that's more recent. This is called Floresta. This is a pretty palette, but it's not something we have not seen before. You all remember, was it Paradise Fallen from Ace Beauté? I have that palette. In fact, I would reach for it if I hadn't put everything in containers. I told y'all I put everything in containers because at some point I thought I'm gonna move. And this palette is very similar to that. Now, I can't vouch for the, you know, shimmery, shifty shades because Paradise Fallen was from the times before everybody wanted multichromes. But, you know, because I have that, I'm not going to go buy a new one, and then I can dupe this. And as I was duping this for you all, you know, I haven't been duping and around makeup, I want to say, as much in the past few months. As you know, I've kind of disappeared. And what I realized is I have a lot of makeup. I know. Shocking revelation, right? I didn't know this. No, I'm kidding. I have a lot of makeup. Like, I feel like I don't know how else to say it. Every time I look at my collection, I'm like, I need years to go through this. So the thought of buying something new just doesn't make sense at all for me, particularly something I can do. Okay, I'm gonna just jump in, and I have no clue what kind of I have all kinds of brands in here, so we're just gonna do this. Now this palette, the way I made it is a little more vibrant, and I don't want to say more colorful because I think the version that Nomad has is also pretty colorful, but you can see some of these shades are a lot more at full saturation. And I'm gonna go into this pink, fusing it a little bit on my hand. This is very, very Fly Away. And this is going in my crease. I'm going to the gym, y'all, after this with full makeup. Let me see, what's this? We have Clarity Cosmetics revealing, it says, we hope you're ready, quiet night. I don't know what this is. I suppose they're revealing something new. Can't wait to see what it is. This looks fine, but I think I'm more excited about the shade of the cardboard, you know, the burgundy purpley shade, than the shades in it, because the shades that I see are all neutral. That's the other thing, beauties. When you're looking at palettes, always imagine removing the cardboard and imagine the palette without the cardboard background and what the shades would look like together, because a lot of times these cardboards are so colorful, giving the impression that the palette is actually more colorful than it is. And as I'm doing this, these are Kiss press-ons that I have painted over with Petals from ILNP. ILNP is officially my favorite brand now. This shade might not look like it, but it's definitely at least a duochrome, if not a multichrome. This looks gold from the angle I'm looking at. We also have this revealing from Melt, Ultra Pink Petite Stack. So Melt became famous, if you are new to the industry or you're too young to remember this, but Melt became famous with these stackable eyeshadows back in the day. So this is very on brand for Melt to like do some form of a new generation of them, particularly that these shades are very good for Valentine's Day. Definitely don't need this. We have something sneak peeking from Pastel Roses. This is a UK brand, so moving on. This is called Sweet Harmony. I kind of smell Valentine's Day, but if it was Valentine's Day, it should have already released. Then we have a few things from Look Healthy Store. Another Dramo. This is Dramo Gradient Chameleon eyeshadows. These chameleon shades, y'all, once you figure out how to use them, please tell me. The challenge with using these chameleon things is, you know, you need to make sure that those the different colors don't mix, because if they mix, they might give you a shade you were not expecting. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll tag my color theory video. But you know, because of that, these look much better in the palette than possibly swirled. Particularly if they're doing complementary shade, when you swirl them, they might just give you some form of a metallic cream shade. I'm going to pick a smaller headed brush. This is from Divina. This is 108. I really want to use this shade. This is from Give Me Glow. I don't remember what the name of the shade is, but if you all are curious, I'll tell you. This is Place Your Bets. And y'all, if things don't look fully blended, they will by the end of the video. So don't worry about that. And then now that we're doing this, some of the shades you could use for this outer area, or let me pick another smaller headed brush. I'll pick this one. This is also from Divina. This is 109. You could use that blue or that purple, because this effectively is a variation of pink, which is a variation of purple. Let's do that. I'm gonna use this blue. I feel like this blue would go well. And I can tell you that this shade is from Shroud, which is a brand that went out of business. It's sad for brands to go out of business. I don't know why they went out of business. If you know, please enlighten the rest of us. But they had some good stuff. I know some people ended up ordering palettes, and I remember a lot of people complaining about not getting what they had ordered. I truly hope they fulfilled all the orders. Okay, I'm really liking this. Let's talk about a few things that I briefly talked about last time, but they had not revealed at that point in time. I might have shown the photo, but they probably revealed after I did the video. So one of them is Bella Beauté Bar's Dead Roses Volume 2. I actually don't even think I ever talked about this palette. Pretty, but remove that neon yellow. And haven't you seen this palette like 200 times before? And don't you think you can dupe this palette? I can dupe this palette. In fact, this palette looks like a combination of that palette from Dia Maroon that I have also duped for y'all, and I did many looks with it, and any other mauve palette, which makes me think you don't need this. You probably have a dupe. You might have even duped a dupe of this. It's sad that when I saw the price tag of $65 in my head, I thought this is not that bad a price, because nowadays we see $90 palettes, which is kind of ridiculous. But no, even $65 is too much. You don't need this. Don't need this. You're not going to buy this. Let's move on. And do let me know if you want me to dupe. Speaking of swirly multiple colors in one pan, we're having the Prism collection sneak peeking from NBA Cosmetics. No, you don't need these, because these mixed shades in a pan are very hard to work with. So moving on. Now that we talked about Bella Beauté Bar, they've also restocked these. Almost all of these I've duped, which means you can dupe, which means you don't need. You really don't, because all of these are from quite a while ago. If any of these you still really, really desperately want, that's a different question, but don't go buy it just because it became available. Okay, let's continue with this look. I want to put a little bit of this in my lower lash line there, and then blend it into the deep blue shade. Continuing, we have this from Official by Rado. All shimmers? No, that's not happening. We're not doing a palette of all shimmers that's not magnetic. We're just not. And then we also have this from Jolie Beauty. You know, Jolie Beauty does so many of these giant palettes that I also don't think are magnetic. Let me know if you know otherwise. You don't need a palette this size. This is a dupe of 200 other palettes, honestly, and you can probably dupe this. I also don't think this is a new palette. Is this a new palette? Because they've released so many palettes this size that I kind of feel like they're duping themselves probably at some level. We also have some more lip shades from Bella Beauté Bar. Now this year, I feel like some lip shades might be in order for me, but a way for me to maybe talk myself out of doing that is just having a lot of my lip shades sitting around, because when I look at my collection, I'm like, no, you don't need something, girl. As I said, when I was duping this and I realized how many singles I have that I'm probably not going to even be able to get through in a lifetime, it made me think, no, you can't buy more makeup. So maybe I should do the same thing with lip. And you probably should use the same strategy. Looking at your collection frequently is a good strategy to say no to things. Artitude Cosmetics says Moonlight Muse palette and collection. When I look at this palette, I see a whole bunch of white. And I'm like, why do I need so many whites in among 16 shades? Somebody needs to explain this to me. Just think about this. Remove the purples and you're left with a very neutral palette. I would be open to duping this for you all. Let me know if you want to see a dupe, but not buying. Particularly that it is $76 and Artitude is English. Add tariffs, y'all. No, not happening. Another one that hadn't revealed when I talked about it last time is this one, Cosmic Brushes Angelic Palette. This is 18 British pounds. I don't even know the conversion rate. And I think Cosmic Brushes at some point started including the tariffs in the price of the palettes. This arguably is pretty. This is one of those palettes that's great for this time of the year because you see the winter and then you see Valentine's Day, and you could probably do a variety of looks with it. It is beautiful and definitely gives the angelic vibes. It's also kind of pastel-y, so it does give the summery kind of spring vibe a little bit. Not buying because Cosmic Brushes is not magnetic. Cosmic Brushes, if you're listening, maybe you should reconsider because this does make me do a double take, but then I remember the size of the collection that I have, which makes me realize I can dupe this. Okay, let's continue with this look. I'm gonna use Base Booster, my favorite from BH. Y'all, let me know if I started talking too fast because I'm trying to get through these faster. What I think would go really well at the center here is that shade. For it, I use something very unique from Glaminatrix, and frankly, I don't know if this is available anymore. This Fire Orchid, a beautiful, beautiful multichrome. Now, I highly doubt whatever Nomad has in its palette is a dupe for this or a variation of this, because this is like a pink to gold to green to blue to like 200 shades. Okay, while I'm doing this, let me start talking about the next thing that I want to talk about, which also was revealed after I did the last video, which is the palette from DD Signature, Sweethearts and Secrets palette. And DD Signature, a brand I want to try at some point, but y'all, I really can't bring myself to buy more makeup because I'm pretty sure I can do this. And honestly, even the price isn't bad. And again, $50 for 16 shades, like, really is the limit of what I would pay. But you know, we've been seeing $70-something for 16 shades. So when I say it's not bad, it's comparison to other prices we see nowadays, not comparing to last year or the year before. But again, if anything, I'm not going to buy anything full price. I'm going to wait on a sale. That's another strategy, y'all. If you haven't watched my videos where I've talked about like strategies that I use for saying no to makeup, one thing is just delaying purchase, because in a few weeks, nobody's probably going to talk about this palette. And if you hadn't bought it, if you haven't forgotten about it, then it's like, okay, maybe you should consider buying it when it goes on sale. But if you've forgotten about it, which is the case, frankly, for me, 90+% of the time, that's a good strategy for just reducing the amount of things you buy. Is there anything else? Yes. Another one I never actually got to talk about is Wonderscape from Beauty Bay. Someone needs to explain to me why the heck Beauty Bay is now doing plastic. Because the thing that I loved about Beauty Bay was that it was environmentally friendly. And now it's moving to plastic packaging? No, not here for this. Another thing is that this palette is like 70% shimmers. Beauty Bay, what's going on? We also have Faye Collection Volume 1 from Glaminatrix. Now, this does make me do a double take because I have a whole lot of singles from Glaminatrix, like this beauty that I just used in my look. So I would be open to these kinds of things, but I need to see better swatches. It says $10 each, and in all honesty, that's also not bad. Now, if it was 10 Australian dollars, that would even be better. Okay, beauties, I finished the look off camera. The only thing that I used outside of the eyeshadow is this Cathy doll. A friend gave me this and I really like it. It's a very nice lip shade. I have one more thing before we go, so let's quickly get to that. This from Hello Taco. You know how much I love nail polishes. Well, if you didn't, Maybe you did when I talked about what I'm wearing. This is their Valentine's Day collection called Magnetic Attraction. And it did definitely make me do a double take. I really like some of these shades. Some of these I feel like I have, like the pink magnetic one. Not the red magnetic, but the pink one. But the other ones, particularly the heart ones, oh, they're so cute. And Holo Taco is a brand I've never used, and it's definitely one of those brands I want to use at some point. And they have had some other releases that I still have my eyes on, but for all of these, I'm probably going to wait on a sale. Okay, beauties, as you saw, the beginning of this video is from another day. New things have released, so I was like, let me just do some more of this. We're going to do another look. I already primed with Max Painterly just to make it fast, and we're going to continue with this beauty. I'm going to try to do a more office appropriate look. We also have coffee and my nails. These are Valentine's Day nails. These are from Dashing Diva. I bought them at TJ Maxx. Again, don't go buy stuff you don't need, but this kind of thing is so much more, well, nice kind of, and a lot more budget friendly than going to a salon. Also, I feel like going to a salon takes a lot of time. Okay, let's jump in. We have this from Electron Cosmetics. It's supposed to release on the 26th of the month. And we also have Quiet Night. Did I talk about this last time? But maybe I did, maybe I didn't. We also have something sneak peeking from Nomad. I can't believe Nomad is already up to a new palette. And this looks a lot more ocean friendly. This is called, well, they say prepare to set sail. This is going to be revealed on the 20th, launching on the 23rd. There is this thing from Morphe. I kind of didn't know Morphe still exists, but evidently it does. I haven't seen Morphe anywhere other than at TJ Maxx, and I thought they were just sending old stuff to TJ Maxx that, you know, are left over from back in the day. Okay, but I do feel like the prices for Morphe are pretty high. I saw this, and I don't know if this is from their original Betty Boop collection, but this thing releasing from Glamlight. I saw a restock alert for this, and then I also saw this thing that says introducing the blah blah blah, which is kind of contradictory. Restock usually means this existed and they're restocking it. When you say introducing, that kind of hints it's a new thing. So I don't know, but you know, I do have my eyes out for lip stuff these days. I don't know why, because I have enough of that, but I do. Another thing I do have my eyes out for, and now that we're talking about all the restocks, nail polish restocks, particularly the Avatar The Last Airbender restock from Mooncat. I have a feeling by the time you guys watch this video, I've already purchased this. I started watching Avatar to show. Oh my goodness, that show is amazing. Yeah, so totally picking this up. Let's get started with the look. As I said, I want to do something office friendly. So let's go into this pink. I'm going to diffuse it a little bit on my hand, and this is going in my crease. And then I'm going to pick a relatively flat but also kind of pointier brush. This is E01 from Singe, and I'm going to go into this deep purple and doing this outer V area with it. Some of you all who know me already know this, but I'm going to call it out again. There is a part of this eye that does not blend or gets a little bit patchy. I don't know if it's because I have to reach over or if it's just the texture of my skin. You know, with age, texture of your eyelids change. A lot of people even recommend you not to do colorful shadows. Of course, we're not going to listen to those people because we do what we feel like doing. Nobody's business. But if you see that when I bring camera closer, that's part of the reason. It's not that I was not trying to put the effort. Continuing, I saw this from Clarity Cosmetics. They're asking if they should release these as 5 shades. I don't know if these are from a palette or what's going on, but they're beautiful. I still feel like I have a dupe for them. And then also this. This one is obviously from Terra Moons. It looks like one of the palettes they released a couple of years ago. And it kind of sounds like they are up to releasing something. I don't think this is the palette, but they kind of hint that it's probably going to be a combination of these shades. Moons is a brand I like to sort of watch. I have the first two palettes they launched, El Barrio and the other one, Cosmic Wanderer or something, and they were both magnetic. But you know, a lot of brands like ColourPop seem to be going in the opposite direction, unusually. So I don't want to assume, and I definitely don't want to pick something up and then realize that it wasn't magnetic. So let me know, not saying that I'm going to pick this up, but these are my colors, definitely caught my eye, and I like Moons. And it's definitely a brand I kind of have on my radar for this year. There's also this launching. This is Blue Hues from, I think it's kind of obvious from the embossing from Shine by SD. This is a collab between Glam Smithy and Shine by SD. It retails for $33 US for 5 shades. Now, if these are all going to be shiny, sparkly, multichromy, then $33 seems like a pretty good price. Now, keep in mind, Shine by SD is a Canadian brand, so I don't know how the tariffs are going to go. Maybe if you're interested, check their site out. I like this. Looks nice. This is totally the type of thing I would go buy, but I have a sense I can dupe all of these. And I also wouldn't be surprised if you can dupe these too. I went back into that purple and doing the lower lash line. I generally, for office looks, try to limit the number of shades I use. I try not to do super colorful. This doesn't mean you shouldn't feel comfortable wearing super colorful to the office. It's more a personal choice. I'm the only female in the office, and the men I work with do not wear makeup, so I don't want to stand out a little too much. This is the location I'm talking about. I always have a little bit of like lines. I don't know what that is. You have multiple options from the shimmer perspective. First of all, you can actually just use a matte. You don't even need to use a shimmer, but if you want to pick a shimmer, you pretty much can use any shimmer here. Now, because I mentioned office and I want to feel comfortable wearing it to the office, I would probably go with something simpler and lighter so that I'm not bringing too much attention to the depth of the look. Usually deeper looks are associated more with evening. So if you're wearing it to the office in the morning, it might look a little bit more extreme. Because of that, I'm going to go and use this one. This is a very simple shimmer called On the Fence from ColourPop. I am going to video this swatching of this palette and put it up, and it's going to be tagged below in the description box. I'm using Base Booster from BH. Again, beauties, the goal of these videos is to use the makeup you own. Now going into this shimmer, again, very simple. And I believe this one is considered a satin. It doesn't say on it. And tapping it here and also here. Not so bad. I'm actually very much liking this look. It's very soft, sort of Valentine's Day. If you feel like it, you can also use the brush that had that very first crease color to blend your lower lash line. Okay. The eye look is done, and I'm very much here for this. Continuing because we have a few more things. Reveals again. This one is from Adept. This is called Sapphire Celine. Can't wait to see this, but everybody has increased prices, so this is 80 bucks. And now Adept has plastic packaging, which is a no-no for me, so nope. You know, that's the reason why I'm not going to pick it up. A lot of times, even if I want something, I try to find the reasons why I wouldn't want to pick them up. So separate from potentially being able to dupe it, or let's be honest, certainly being able to dupe it. I saw something yesterday that I was like, I want to talk about this, and I can't find it now. Here it is. These from Wet n Wild, y'all. Now it seems like even Wet n Wild has multichromy stuff. You all remember ColourPop first released these? Then we had these from, was it NYX? I even talked about some of them in this channel, and now it seems like Wet n Wild is doing it. So at least from the photos, these look definitely duochromy, if not multichromy to me. A lot of indie brands would have sold these as multichromes to use. So I haven't tried them. So the photos might be super modified and it might not look like this at all. But if they do, $6, $7, $8 seem a lot better to me than what you would pick these up for at, you know, some of these alternative indie brands, particularly when I'm looking at these eyeshadows. For example, that eyeshadow that goes pink to gold, the multichrome that goes pink to gold, I've mentioned this before, is one of the most commonly seen multichromes. Even as far back when Juvia's Place had its first palette with a multichrome in it, this was the multichrome that was in it. Similarly with the multichrome that goes purple to blue to sort of teal to green. One of the most commonly seen multichromes in palettes. So if you're buying those, if you're interested in those, if you're new to multichromes, don't go pay, I don't know, $17, $18 for these higher-end brands. You can start with these for $5, $6. And if you already have them in your collection, you don't need more. Okay, friends, completed the look off camera using this. Everything is going to be in the description box below. Quickly mentioning a few more things and then we're done. 5 mega chromes releasing from Pretties for Your Face. Again, I talked about it in the earlier part of this video. Pretties for Your Face is a UK brand, so keep in mind there might be tariffs that you might have to pay. Otherwise, they look nice, but I don't need. And then this one from Viseart, which is advertised as a brand new eyeshadow palette, but I'm feeling this intense deja vu with this palette. Did they not have this palette, or are they releasing a lot of palettes similar to the ones they already have? What is going on? $44, which for not even 16, for 12 pans, I think that's a lot of money. And these palettes, unless this is large, but these are usually small, no, $44, not happening. And these shades, if you're watching my channel, you probably already have these shades, so you don't need this. But the only reason I'm talking about it is that Viseart is a brand I would like to try at some point, and they are one of those older brands that always had magnetic palettes. Now, I don't know for a fact if they still have magnetic palettes, but these look like they're still magnetic. But I don't know what's going on with the duping of themselves and the prices. If you figure it out, please let me know too. I'm going to bring the camera closer now and show you this look from close up. And you might be able to see the particular patchiness that I was talking about. Also, I don't use mascara usually, but if you feel like using mascara, feel free to do that. With that, beauties, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget a thumbs up. Also, if you enjoy to buy or not to buy videos where I talk about new makeup and I try to talk myself out of buying them on camera, wait until the end. My playlist is going to be recommended to you on the screen. Let me bring the camera closer and show you this eye look from close up. I love you all. I hope you have an awesome day, an awesome week, and until next time, bye.